family invited me to the reunion to brag about my cousin getting into Harvard. As everyone applauded, my grandmother sniffed. Some people just aren't academic. I should have kept my mouth shut and grabbed another beer, but I'd been listening to this crap for 2 hours straight, and honestly, I was done. See, I'm the family disappointment, the one they whisper about at Christmas dinner. 26 years old, dropped out of college sophomore year, work construction, live in a cramped studio apartment above Mrs. Nguyyen's Chinese restaurant. The grease smell never really goes away. Meanwhile, my cousin Luke's the family's golden child. Harvard bound with a full scholarship, honors program, pre-med track. Kid's been getting straight A's since kindergarten while I was getting detention slips. The reunion was at Uncle Steve's house in the suburbs. You know the type. Perfect lawn, 2-car garage, those little solar lights lining the driveway. I rolled up in my beat-up Ford pickup, oil stains on the concrete, feeling like I was contaminating their property values just by existing. Everyone was gathered around the backyard deck when I arrived. The adults had claimed the patio furniture while kids ran around with water balloons, screaming their heads off. Classic rock blasted from someone's Bluetooth speaker, competing with the sizzle of burgers on Uncle Steve's oversized grill. "There's Luke's future," Aunt Janet announced, waving a wine glass as I walked up. She was already 3 drinks in, cheeks flushed pink. "Harvard Medical School, here we come." Luke stood in the center of it all, tall and lean now, hair perfectly styled like some college recruitment poster. Gone was the awkward kid with braces I remembered. This version looked like he belonged in a catalog for successful people. "We're so proud," Uncle Steve added, flipping a burger with unnecessary flair. "Full ride scholarship, you know. They're practically paying him to attend." My mom spotted me lurking by the cooler and waved me over. She was wearing her nervous smile, the one she gets when she's worried I'm going to embarrass the family. "Again, Luke's been telling us about orientation week," she said, trying to include me in the conversation. "Sounds amazing, right?" I nodded and cracked open a Coors Light, letting the condensation drip onto my steel-toed boots. The same boots that had been caked with mud that morning, crawling under a house to run electrical lines. "You know," Aunt Janet continued, gesturing dramatically, "Luke's going to be a doctor. A real doctor. Finally, someone successful in this family." The comment hit like a slap. Everyone nodded and murmured agreement, raising their drinks and toast. Luke just stood there soaking it up, that smug little grin spreading across his face like he'd won the lottery. "Not everyone can be book smart," Uncle Steve added, glancing my way with what I'm sure he thought was sympathy. "Some people are more hands-on." That's when Grandma Helen, perched in her lawn chair like some judgmental queen, looked directly at me and delivered the line that finally broke my patience. "Some people just aren't academic." The whole backyard went dead quiet. 20-something relatives, all eyes on me, waiting for me to shrink away like I always did, waiting for me to mumble something about needing another beer and disappear into the house. Instead, I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. My hands were surprisingly steady. "You're absolutely right, Grandma," I said, turning the screen toward the crowd. "I'm not academic at all." The bank statement showed my checking account balance, and more importantly, last month's deposit. The number seemed to glow on the screen. Luke squinted at my phone, then his face went completely white. That's impossible." "Union electrician," I explained calmly, taking a sip of beer. "Specialized in high-voltage industrial work. Power plants, manufacturing facilities, the dangerous stuff nobody else wants to touch." Aunt Janet's wine glass was frozen halfway to her mouth. Uncle Steve had stopped flipping burgers entirely. "I clear about 15 grand a month," I continued. "Sometimes more if there's overtime or emergency calls. Turns out, people pay really well for someone willing to work with electricity that can literally kill you." The silence was so complete, I could hear the neighbor's dog barking 3 houses down. "But hey," I said, raising my beer toward Luke, "I'm sure Harvard's great too, buddy. Maybe in 4 years of undergrad, then 4 years of med school, then however many years of residency. Maybe you'll catch up." Luke looked like he was going to be sick. Grandma Helen was staring at her hands. Even the kids had stopped screaming in the pool. "Anyway," I said, draining my beer, "I should get going. Early job tomorrow. We're installing backup generators at the hospital. You know, keeping the lights on for future doctors." I set down my empty bottle and walked toward my truck, leaving 27 relatives in stunned silence behind me. For once, I was the one walking away with my head held high.